You know, there are a lot of things floating around space. Satellites, planets, moons, stars, and lions. More often than I'd like to admit, lions. And so for today's astrological video, we're going to be looking at the constellation of Leo. Hi, I'm the Thesterninator and welcome to the channel. We've got a lot to cover today, including a hint at some upcoming features and video series at the end, so stick around. So when working on Leo, I really had to reach into my bag of tricks and pull out everything that I've learned for Pokemon such as our Pisces design, and our Libra design, and our Capricorn design, and what can I do to implement those same ideas across into this Pokemon. And I do have to say, I am sorry to say it, I think Leo is my current favorite design, and it is a ton of fun. It was fun making and fun designing, and I found myself getting stuck once or twice and having to really adapt on the fly. As I was designing this lion Pokemon, you know, we already actually have several lion Pokemon, including one that's heavily based on the stars. So I set myself up for this challenge. I decided that I was not going to even look at Pyroar or Solgaleo at all. I was going to design this solely off of thought and memory and try to make sure that I didn't incorporate anything from any other Pokemon designs. And even still, I found myself accidentally drawing inspiration from a Pokemon that isn't even a lion. It's a lynx, and I'm not gonna say its name because it's not important and the issue ends up getting fixed anyway. So just kind of ignore the color scheme used for this sketch. I end up changing the colors after recording, and I feel like they fit a lot better, especially being that this is supposed to be in the Costa region, which is heavily based on the west coast. Giving it more mountain lion type colors by incorporating some browns later, I think really informs it not just on the design and the astrological aspect, but also on the idea of it fitting into a region that is based on that area. That being said, I have posted this actually, so it won't be in the Costa region, but I've posted it to Ko-fi, so if you really like this design, really like these characters, feel free to head over. Those are available for purchase right now. But that's neither here nor there, so for the moment you can see I'm going in, adding some shading, and I'll say this about the shading. Subjectively Jack just posted a video recently talking about rendering and some of the aspects that he uses for his designs. And rendering was just a small part of the video, but it was something that I took a lot from. It was something that really informed how I wanted to do these moving forward. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but for the moment, here is Nemi. Nemi, the proud lineage Pokemon. Most who stumble upon a pride of Nemi will immediately be shocked at the ferocity that even the young cubs will show to one another. This is all in fun, however, as the Pokemon will practice battles with its younger compatriots to ensure that once they evolve, they become the pride of the pride. That's an odd name for a Pokemon, right, Nemi? Well, I wanted to base this design off of the Nemian lion. It's a lion from myth that is known for being defeated by Hercules in battle. It was this outrageous creature that really inspired a lot of the stories. If you've ever seen the image of Hercules wearing a lion pelt, that's where this comes from. And I incorporated that more heavily into this design as well. So this is the evolution to Nemi, and I'm gonna be honest, this is actually the one that I started with. I had the idea, the concept, the want, and said, okay, I have to start here. Rather than doing as I normally do, starting from the base, which is the first form, and building up, I knew very much what I wanted here. And yet again, I found myself falling into the same trappings that I had before. As I started to color and do some of the more intricate line work, I started to see some things that popped out in ways that I'd hoped they wouldn't. I'll get to that as we get more to the color aspect, because that's really where you start to see and say, hey, wait a minute, I think I've seen this before. But going back to the rendering discussion, yeah, Subjectively Jack put out a video where he talks about the motifs behind Pokemon and how to design your own Pokemon. Being a huge fan of his, I sat down, I put in the time, and I watched it. And I learned a lot. So one of the big things that I would say if you're looking at drawing and designing Fakemon, look at the other artists around you. This is a great community that I've had the intense joy of being a part of, and I often find it as a victory of being a part of this type of work, is getting to hang out with that community, getting to be a part of other artists' conversations as well, and yeah, it's just been a ton of fun, and seeing how they learn and how I learn, and not gatekeeping, but instead sharing what we've learned throughout the processes and using that to help one another grow. My channel has grown more than I thought it would in the past month, and I am insanely proud of that, and I owe a lot of that to the influence of other creators, other people who've inspired me to do this type of thing, who've inspired me to not just draw and throw it away like I have been doing, but utilize those designs, find ways to incorporate them. And so soon, I'm actually going to be opening up the August series of videos, and I'm going to be exploring the Costa region, where a lot of these Pokemon have come from, where a lot of these Pokemon were inspired. So that's going to be super exciting. It's going to be a very different type of video, but it is going to explore a lot more of the lore of these Pokemon that I've been creating. So I hope that you're excited to see that. There will be a fun little teaser for that in the end of the video here, getting to meet trainers and gym leaders and Elite Four members and all that fun stuff alongside getting to see the Pokemon art. We'll actually have human art as well, which I'm kind of terrified about. But if you've seen on Instagram, I've actually posted a lot of that stuff already, and I'm gonna go back and kind of redraw those, bring them up to my modern style. So I'm very excited. I hope you are too. I've had several people ask, hey, when are we gonna get some lore into this Costa region you've been mentioning? And I'm excited to say very, very, very soon. It's very exciting. So here we are going in and coloring this Pokemon, and immediately, as soon as I picked that blue for a feline type Pokemon, I felt like
It looks very, similar.
So again, that fed into the decision to change all the colors after I'd finished drawing all of them. And again, I think it was a good choice. I think moving away from that blue and black really allowed this to feel like its own Pokemon, which is something I was terrified of. Just kind of feeling like it was a rehash of Pokemon we'd already seen before. I was absolutely terrified of that. So I'm glad that it kind of forced me to look at this a little bit differently. And I'm very happy with that. I wanted to make it feel regal. I wanted to make it feel larger than life, go away from the idea of the pride and proud type Pokemon, because when looking at the sign of Leo, that's not what we see at all. Leo is a symbol of confidence and comfortability. It's a symbol that knows who it is and is okay being the center of attention. And I think that if that's the case, I really have to work hard at making sure that I'm not just rehashing a design that already exists. I can't just make Pyroar again and say, okay, here you go. I can't just make Solgaleo again and say, all right, here you go. It's another reason that I actually decided not to do this as a regional variant. I've had a couple people, whenever I draw these designs, say, it looks good, but it looks like it's a regional variant of this other Pokemon. So I had to challenge myself. If I'm trying to capture the essence of what it means to be a Leo, it has to be its own, and it has to feel comfortable in being that. So I hope that that works. I hope that it fits. I hope that it feels like something all its own. And that's part of the reason that I picked the Nemi and Lion, was because we haven't seen that really brought up in Pokemon designs before. And it's a very cool, very interesting legend and myth that I wanted to capture. And I hope that I captured it as best as it could be, and I hope that it's something that any Leo watching can say, man, I am proud that I am represented by this Pokemon. Nelion, the proud lineage Pokemon. Their wide mane ensures that all who stand in their way move quickly to the side. The leader Nelion of a pride will show off their status with echoing roars that make the very earth shake, and emitting a powerful glow from the starry shapes that adorn their crown-like fur. Nelion are a noble breed who stand confidently over their pride and will not back down when it comes to protecting their young, choosing to fight to the death rather than allow even a single Nemi to be injured. Research Addendum. We've been following a pride of Nemi and their leader Nelion through the vast sand wastes of our outer region. Typically the migration routes follow a predetermined pathway, but this pride has moved off course. We've tracked them to the highest peak of a nearby mountain range, and oddly, the pride leader seems to have broken off from the rest. A strange break in this Pokemon's normal ritual. The Nelion appears to be ascending higher and higher, now alone. What's this? The Nelion seems to be roaring up into the clouds, commanding them to move so that it can better glimpse the stars. We at the Pokemon Research Institute have heard stories of Pokemon undergoing metamorphoses brought on by movements such as these, but never did we think we might be lucky enough to bear witness. If you've been following the other videos in this series, you know that we don't stop at 2 forms. We usually have the first form, its evolution, and then a metamorphosed form. This form usually brought on when the stars are aligned to a certain time of the year, and it allows the Pokemon to undergo something very similar to Mega Evolution. I don't necessarily want to call it that because I feel like it's very different, but it's mostly the same. It kind of like how Gigantamax forms are kind of Mega forms, not necessarily. This is very much in that same type of vein. So I knew exactly what shape I wanted to go with. I knew kind of from the beginning, I want this to go from being a star to a moon. Now that does feel like a downgrade, but using the shapes, I wanted to create something that felt very much bigger than the sum of its parts. It is not just a moon, but a collection of stars, including the tail, which I wanted designed to look more like a shooting star. So this is many cosmic entities kind of brought together. I feel like we are now so far past the idea of this being a Solgaleo clone or a Luxray clone. We are something very, very different. And the shapes used, I am beyond proud that I was able to make what, in my opinion, work. It feels like something that is large, bigger than life, and it also feels like it can still be a Pokemon. That moon shape really just kills me. I love that so much, and I knew kind of from the start, no matter what changes that I make on this design, that's going to stay. And then fitting in that mane, that outer growing mane, into that shape, I'm so glad that it worked out as well here as it did in my head. Because this was, I think, probably the first astrological design that I came about knowing I know exactly what I want to do for the final form. Whereas normally I start out with an idea, a basic structure of, okay, I kind of know what I want to do for the middle form and for the first form, and then I'll figure out the last form as I go. This one ended up being the exact opposite. I knew what I wanted this thing to be, and it ended up becoming something that I was proud of. And I think that really encompasses the Leo ideology, confidence, pride, not in a bad sense, but pride in accomplishment. And I very much feel that with this design. Again, I do go and I change the colors as I did with the others, just to make sure that it doesn't mimic that Luxray type of color scheme. But I am very, very happy and very, very proud with how this was able to go. Coming in with a lot of fear. Coming in with the idea of, I'm gonna look like I'm rehashing our very well-known lion Pokemon, and ending with something that I can say is vastly different from anything I think we've seen before, apart from maybe like Lunatone, because they both have that half-moon type of motif. So I'm very happy with it. It definitely gives me some added confidence when looking at some of the other signs that I've been very nervous to tackle. It gets brought up every now and then, what are you going to do with Tauros, being that Tauros is already a Pokemon? I don't know, but I don't feel quite as worried about it as I was before. Leo and the confidence that it is, not that it instills, not that it brings to the table, but that it is, really allowed me to feel like I know what I'm doing with this series and with what's to come. And there is a lot to come. You guys have done such a great job at showing me that this is something worth doing, that this channel is worth investing in. And I've been trying to do that. And I think that this Pokemon, at least for me, ended up being kind of the breaking point of this is going to happen, this is going to work, and we're going to keep on a-truckin'. So I hope that you're happy with the direction that I went with Leo. I know I am, and I know that if I were a Leo, I'd be super proud to see this. I am unfortunately and fortunately an Aries, and that is a design that is to come. But for the moment, this is our astrologically metamorphized Nelion. Let me know down in the comments, did you prefer the previous color schemes for these guys, or do you much prefer these designs? Like I said, they're very much more inspired by mountain lions that we have here in the region that I live in. So I had a little bit going for me on just kind of the inspiration that I could not necessarily look out my window and see a mountain lion, but it's an animal that I'm fairly familiar with. I also wanted to incorporate the shiny, having that white lion motif. Similar to Kimbo the White Lion. If you know that reference, then you'll most likely like the shiny. But yeah, this is our Pokemon for Leo. I'm very happy with it. I hope you are too. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I always love chatting with you guys. Check out our community panel on YouTube. That's something that I'm getting a lot more familiar with. You can get a lot of updates as to what's going on, such as the update that this design actually dropped the day before this video. available for purchase on Ko-fi. Like I said, a lot of these designs are going to end up over there, so if you like them, you can actually purchase them for yourself. As you know, I've never been shy about my socials. You can find all those down in the links below, and hear some chit chat from us in the Discord, on my Twitter, or in the Ko-fi, where I post updates regularly. And with that, I'm not quite done. I have something really exciting that I am very pumped to show you. Hello and welcome to the Costa region. I'm going to be giving you an in-depth look at everything Costa, all the Pokemon that are canon to my region, as well as the gym leaders, the trainers, the player characters, and the Pokemon professors. So stay tuned as we take a look through all of this stuff as I'm drawing it and as we're kind of playing it. You'll get to see what the lineage and lore of this region are, as requested by an awful lot of you. So stay tuned, keep up to date with what's been going on with the channel, because this is going to be a super fun series that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know that I on and off post Pokemon that are canon to this region, as well as trainers, and now we'll finally get to actually meet them, learn their personalities, and the story that goes along with a game that I'm calling Pokemon Harmony and Pokemon Discord. I look forward to seeing you there, and until that time, it sounds like you know where to find me. Thank you again to our followers, our patrons, our supporters. Right now, if you follow me on Ko-fi, no money, no donations, no nothing. You just have to follow. Through the month of August, you're going to get a shout out at the end of each video. So I look forward to seeing you there. And bye.